youth program in English and in Spanish. Could those be provided to us again? I included them in my newsletter last year.
To the Councilwoman through the chair. So today we have part one. These aren't the official flyers. Our official flyers are a couple weeks away, and you will definitely we'll drop off here at City Hall or to your office in the field as many as you want. But I will give to the clerk or to the chair, whoever makes sense. These can get you going. These are just in English, but the full flyers are about 2 weeks away. So the headline to the councilwoman through the chair is the application opens Thursday. So the timing of this presentation is perfect. Certainly, the easiest thing to do is point your constituents to the YOU website, and applications open on Thursday. And perfect, this is the slide I wanted to be on, so thank you. Continuing with some highlights in 2023, what I want to call to your attention here, there's a couple of data points. First of all, we, working with Chief Pryor Jones and her team at the city, were able to secure a pilot grant which 716 teenagers engaged in a national project called Young Money Mentors. So what this is, everybody who comes to a YOU orientation gets some financial literacy. We partnered with several banks, and actually my colleagues know more about this than I do, but the headline is, we partnered with several banks, and the banks taught young people to be trainers, and they trained 716 on additional peer-to-peer literacy. So research shows that one distinction between young people or all families who are economically in good shape versus those who are struggling is they have savings accounts. And having peers teach other peers was a real highlight. The other highlight I wanted to call to your attention is that on average, young people earned $1,629. There are other fun statistics there. 251 participated in career academies. You've heard from Councilman Starr before about our partnership with the Habitat for Humanity. This year, that was the original Career Academy, and that serves about 11. This year, 251 young people were in career academies in everything from manufacturing, construction, IT, an innovative project we did with PIO in marketing, just to name a few. So that is this slide. Moving on to what is happening in 2024 and the headlines. First of all, we, at this point, and to Chair Santana's point earlier, we can do more. We served 2,000 last year. We have funding at this time to serve 1,230. Excuse me, we plan to enroll 1,500. And the dates I want to call to your attention here, all of them are important, but the two most important are February 1st, the application goes live. And it is not first come, first serve, but because it's open until May 1st. But in real life, it is better, and they have a better chance if they actually have, by April 1st, enrolled because, or done their intake application, because you see we start appointments on April 23rd. That is really the day by which we need to know all of our funding, because we can intake more if we have more funding, but you're not going to intake families if you don't have funding to support their efforts. So as we talk a little bit later on needs, that is a key day, April 23rd and February 1st. If we go to the next slide, you'll see some other key dates I want to call to your attention, other key stats for 2024. The work experience starts on June 17th, and it ends on July 27th. So if you have in mind, and a little later we will ask in one of our requests for needs, if you have businesses or nonprofits in mind you'd like us to work with, that is when we are running payroll for the most part. If someone's starting June 12th or ending August, whatever, 4th, we can make that work, but we prefer as much as possible to run payroll in this 6-week period. This year, young people will have an opportunity to earn up to $2,000+, and we're paying $13.50 an hour. And then the next slide is a QR code for, I know Councilman Starr is a techie. I don't know if anyone else wants to take a picture of that before we go to the next. This is, but again, you go to the YOU website, and this is the #1 reason people go to the YOU website. So if you go to the YOU website, starting actually it should be February 1st, you can apply. And the last thing we would like to share on the final slide, Councilwoman Santana, Council Chair Santana asked us, what are our needs? So there are 4 needs we'd like to bring to your attention today. First and foremost, physical space. We operate a summer office from April to September. We do have funding to pay for it. And this is what we would like at our summer office. We want a place to house our 80 to 100 seasonal staff. And last year, for the first time in our history, our summer office was also conveniently located to be an intake session, so it was really good. We'll occasionally do intake in the community, but one centrally located for most of the intake is preferred. And that would also be where we would do most of our orientation. So if you know anything, those of you who have, in this case, the 4 council people who are closer to the center, I will say that Lee Harvard and the Far West Side wouldn't work for the whole city. That doesn't mean we can't do some outreach in those. But if the other council people on this committee have any ideas of a vacant space that we could lease that would be welcoming to families, that would be one need. A second need that I've talked to Vice Chair House Jones about several times, and we've been working on, is help with IDs. So when we talk about what is a barrier to young people, 2 of the barriers that we feel City Council can be helpful is photo IDs and birth certificates. Birth certificates, since most of them are here in this building, is there some way we can work with that office to make it easier for families to secure them? And photo IDs, as long as it's from their school, they don't have to go pay money at DMV. Their school can issue one. Schools don't typically issue. So whether it's a private school, a parochial school, or a public school, if you can work with your school teams in your neighborhoods and your communities to issue IDs, that counts. And those are 2 of the 4 big pieces of paperwork we collect that we think City Council can be helpful. You will see that in some neighborhoods, we could use some assistance in recruiting additional employers. And this does seem to cover most of the neighborhoods that are represented by this committee. We are always looking for good work sites that can give young people meaningful work experiences, whether they're hosting 2 or 20. Prefer 20, but 2 is okay. Please let us know as soon as possible, because worksite recruitment also, that actually begins in January and has to be done by April 23rd, because as we intake people, we match them. And last, but certainly not least, we have capacity to serve more. And so if there were more money, to your point about the budget, we can serve more. So I'll pause now, and I wasn't sure if Okay, nothing from PIO?
Chief, you're going to do your presentation afterwards, or you're just going to do it together and just here to answer any questions?
We're here to answer.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so we're
Yeah.
ready for questions.
Okay, so really quick, my questions are more around budgeting process and your operations. So as I am here, I'm interested. We know youth violence and is increasing, right? I think by providing training and opportunities to keep kids just engaged, right, and busy with work really helps with that. I was one. I remember being a YOU employer, and it kept me busy since the age of 14. So who knows where I would have been without those opportunities. But Craig, can you explain, going back to 2023, what was your yearly budget?
For the summer program or for the entire organization?
For the summer program.
I am going to call to the table Mr. Eric Dillenbeck, who would know that off the top of his head. I'm guessing.
Hi.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Are we talking about the PIO budget? Or overall?
Overall, yes,
It's about 8 million.
8 million.
Between 7 and 8 million, Madam Chair.
Okay, and then the 8 million, I mean, who's funding this? Like, where are you getting
Yeah,
the
so
allocation
the
from?
funding for the 8 million, the vast majority comes from Cuyahoga County TANF dollars. And so that it would be close to 80% of the funding. That is federal pass through to the state to pass through to the county. The second largest group of funding is from our relationship and great partnership with PIO. And as we said earlier, that was about 240 year, summer and 40 year round. And
Yes, go ahead.
prevention, intervention, opportunity.
And can you explain also TANF?
Sure, temporary assistance for needy families. So that is the test for that is the same test for free and reduced lunch, and that's 200% of the poverty level. That's, yes, sir.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Of the PIO prevention funding, how much is that?
Through the chair to Councilman, it's $699,494 was the 2023 budgeted amount.
Two other things to note about the budget. The rest is a big tranche of private sector, and the biggest of that is Cleveland Foundation, but Bank of America, Third Federal, just to name a few. And this past year, we started a private sector campaign to raise even more money, had some individuals of wealth give to it. And this coming year, we're looking forward to, we got some additional funding for 2024 from JP Morgan Chase and Key Bank. So if you see anyone from those areas, thank them. The other large expense that we haven't talked about is we added something to our summer program about 4 or 5 years ago. And last summer, for the first time ever, we were able to do this for every young person. They got 1 year of coaching, mentoring, and guidance and resource support after the summer program. So the summer program ends usually the last week of July. We had about a 1 to 70 ratio. Our staff meeting them in the school, meeting them in the neighborhoods, going to their homes and helping really with two things. One, to make sure their career journey is still going forward in a positive way, whether they're a ninth grader or a graduating senior. And secondly, to provide resource support, because as we know, just because they had a good summer experience doesn't mean that they won't encounter food insecurity, homelessness, mental health issues, kind of the big three during the school year, and we want to make sure they graduate.
Got it, okay, thank you. So Craig, out of this 8 million, how many youth were hired?
2,000.
2,000.
So it's about 4,000-ish per young person, 4,500
3,500.
per.
Okay.
Craig's rounding up. It's
Go ahead,
1850,
you
but-
could just talk on your microphone.
The number we served last year was
Oh, yeah.
1848, 1850.
Okay.
Eric will give you precision, I'll round up.
So out of 8 million, 1850 around. Yeah. Or higher.
And I redid the math, and it's 7 million. I apologize, I said 8. It was 7.
Okay.
7 million.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman,
Councilman?
are you saying that the 8 million is not correct?
The 8 million, the real number is 7 million. I just wrote up the numbers on the paper and did my math. It's 7 million.
Do we have the budget for anything that you have materials to show us other than just, getting numbers from you? Now we got 8 million, it's 7 million, I don't know.
Yeah, to the councilman through the chair, we can provide for the committee and for the whole council a breakdown of the total actual amount and the amount by source, with the three big sources being the county, the city, and then private sector. We can provide that.
Madam Chairwoman, let me know when we'll be able to get the information.
We have it prepared. We can send it when we get back to the office.
Brooke, could you follow up on that? Thank you. Okay. So,
And Madam Chairwoman, would it just suggestion, if I may, thank you, Madam Chairwoman, if we could get that, because it would do us better, Madam Chairwoman, if we had the information, we could look through it, then we could ask questions, but right now, it's kind of like, I mean,
and just remember, we're not making any decisions right now.
I know
We're
that, but
just-
it would be nice, Madam Chairwoman, to take a deeper dive here, to really fundamentally understand how it works, how this might be very beneficial to our neighborhood. For the starters, let me just thank you for the funds that you are able to raise, that you are out there trying to help our young people and trying to have a more of an impact. But it would give me a better idea and concept to really understand fundamentally with a better package, just exactly what do you fundamentally do.
A clarification question to the councilman through the chair. The last thing you said you were looking for is impact, and then I didn't catch the.
Well, the idea is what you've given us right now is a quick piece here, some numbers. It really doesn't tell me what you do. How impactful are you in the neighborhoods? It's just a ABC 1, 2, 3, approach to this.
Open your presentation.
I
that-
saw the
okay, you got
presentation. Is
that?
it 2-3 pages or something like that? Yeah, it really doesn't tell me anything. Yeah, I see that, Madam Chairwoman, too, the distinguished colleague, Mrs. Stephanie Jones, but it really fundamentally doesn't tell me anything. It's a ABC 1, 2, 3 elementary presentation. And so if I want to do a deep dive in this and really fundamentally understand what you do, the breakdown, I'm like pulling blood from a turnip now. And so I don't, Madam Chairwoman, I want to be able to see it. You need to be able to produce a
Do you have that
document.
handy, or do you have that email that you could send it to him? Otherwise, we'll just ask questions. You write everything down, and then we'll follow up with.
We could follow up. We have that information. Gathering that would probably be not the end of the day today, because we'd gather it from a couple different places, but we could provide to the committee a few things on impact in terms of some specific statistics on success, as well as a little bit more information about some of the sites that I think will help underscore. It'll be a sampling. We have 300-plus sites, so it won't necessarily give you that whole list. You're welcome to see it. But some of the headline sites and impact, we do have that information in a different place. So that, I would say, along with the breakdown of funding, would be closer to the end of the week.
Thank you. So back to my line of questions. So 7 million, out of that 7 million, I'm not sure if I missed it, was that some of ARPA dollars that was allocated from council?
A small amount of ARPA dollars, about 20,000 of that was ARPA. We have ARPA dollars from our Ohio Means Jobs contract to serve 50 youth this time around, which would be closer to 250,000.
I'm sorry, what was that, Madam Chairwoman?
Do you want to repeat?
Yes, sir. To the councilman through the chair, this year we are in a contract with Ohio Means Jobs to provide up to 50 City of Cleveland residents through ARPA dollars jobs in the built environment realm. And so that will be, that's part of our 2024 funding.
Got it, got it. Craig, how many youth applied in 2023?
It's the, Madam Chairwoman, it's the, on the slide number 2, we had total over the whole county, or 3,743 applied from the city of Cleveland in 2023. And it was 5,600 across the entire county that applied.
Okay.
The numbers on this slide are Cleveland specific.
Okay.
And the note underneath the applied, there's an other column, and that's those who applied after we ran our data through the RGIS system, and they technically applied, but we didn't get a chance to clarify their ward information
So
here.
around 1,700 youth weren't able to get a job, right? But that was because of the funding, or was
Yeah,
and qualified, they didn't have their birth certificate?
Yeah.
What was the reason?
yeah,
for it?
so there were several reasons for why 3,700 apply and 1,281 were served. I'm going to name 3 and invite my colleague Eric Dillenbeck to add if I've missed any notable ones. Reason number 1 is funding. Reason number 2 is they found something else. So that's, of course, the most positive. So they applied with us, but maybe they got a job at Taco Bell or somewhere else. And reason number 3 is we invited them and we lost, or they somehow never got it because they maybe moved. So we call, we email, we do everything we can. We invite them to intake, but there's certain families, because of the mobility, from the time they register to the time they invite them. I believe I'm correct in saying this year we mitigated paperwork as, is that correct? Yes, correct. So no one was turned away because they didn't have something. We worked with them, rescheduled them again. So that is still worth addressing, as we suggest in the things to do, and we've talked to Councilwoman Jones about, because some people probably just don't show up to intake because they don't have the paperwork. But anyone who showed up to intake, we worked with them. So the big 3 reasons is they disappeared, they got something better, or at some point, funding is also a reason. Okay?
Those are all accurate.
All right.
Go ahead. Okay, so I have tons of questions, but since I have to kind of head out early, I want to hear
Okay.
my colleagues talk. But for this year, so 7 million, we were able to give jobs to maybe 1281, right? This year, what is the budget? Huh?
Yeah, the 7 million was for 1,800, because the 7 million includes the county.
Cleveland residents. Okay, got it.
So one of the things to note for the entire committee is that, while you operates the program, and although 70% of who we serve is City of Cleveland, we are operating the county program as well. And so that's why sometimes Eric and I will ask, do you want to know the city or the whole thing? So 7 million was the whole thing, and that served 1,850 youth, of which, you back it out, 12, whatever the number was.
1281.
1281 were Cleveland. In 2024, we have funding for 1,230. Do you know, Mr. Dillenbeck, the amount of money that actually is?
So the budget is roughly the same. On paper, and these are the numbers we're giving you on paper for '24, is the 1,230. we have a habit of over-enrolling with the funds we have available because we know that young people won't work all of their allowable hours. They go on vacation, they leave early to go to sporting events, and so it allows us some wiggle room to over-enroll a little bit. That's why our target number is 1,500. Our contracted number is 1,230. So we always over-enroll a little bit so we can fully spend our various contract sources and maximize the number of youth.
Got it.
served.
So what you're saying is you anticipate the same cost, right? The 7 million for this year to contract with 1230. And does that include the 1 million? I know that we're not going to talk about that legislation, but there is a legislation that's pending 82/2024, which is 1.4 million. Is that incorporated in the 7 million, or would that take them over to 8.4 million?
No,
That
it's-
is
it's
incorporated, it's
incorporated.
incorporated.
That's incorporated. Got it. Okay, that's my line of questions for now. I'm going to open it up to my vice chair. You'll just wait. So next up, I have Jenny Spencer, and then I have Mr. Starr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And actually, a couple budget questions from this end of the table from Councilman Slife and me. So I'll just roll with it. We wanted to clarify, following along this discussion, the program budget is 7 million. That's what we're hearing. But one slide indicates that 2.97 million, more or less, goes to wages. So what is the difference between 7 million in program cost and, so what is the rest of the funding going for if just short of 3 million is paid to youth and wages?
the Councilwoman, through the chair, the second largest amount is the year-round coaching and mentoring and resource support I indicated. So we have about 20 full-time staff at YOU who will be assigned a caseload right at the very beginning, and they work with them year-round. The second group is, I had indicated when we were saying we need space for 80 to 100 temporary summer staff. The vast majority of those are job coaches. And so this is a temporary staff. So we hire staff starting in April. So if we're doing intake, orientation, and then a job coaching for young people, that means we're having these large intake events and they need to be staffed. Our regular staff are not available for that. So we hire about 80 to 100 temporary, and so their salary is the other significant. Then there are some additional costs. Every young person gets at least 2 weeks of bus tickets, uniforms, and background checks for jobs where they are required. Training and program materials, orientation handbooks, literacy materials. I mentioned that we will pay for an office space, so if we do, it's also charged to that. And then some things like parking and mileage for the staff, especially the job coaches driving around, processing youth payroll, as well as a portion of Eric Dillenbeck's salary and some of his team that's year-round providing the infrastructure.
Thank you. So I think, especially knowing that we have potential legislation coming forward, I know it's not on the table today, but it sounds like there is proposed funding legislation. I think it would be really helpful to have a written, I think Councilman Jones was referring to this as well, a written breakdown of that 7 million and understanding the breakdown of all these costs in writing that have been explained verbally today. So I think that request has been clear, but thank you for the verbal response today. I was also curious to know on the funding stream side, historically, we know that there is, under Chief Pryor Jones, a real desire to invest in, very, very clear, and granted, I wasn't around City Hall much earlier, so I'm learning along with this process. So just curious about historically what has City of Cleveland funding looked like. Is this new funding, or is this kind of in line with historic funding levels from the city?
To the councilwoman, through the chair, it's been, we were co-founded by the city of Cleveland in 1982, and that year, Mayor Voinovich and the council gave us $500,000, so that goes back in time. From 1982 to the present, it's varied from a high of this year under Mayor Bibb at over $1 million, to some years when there was nothing. So it's really varied from administration to administration. This is a high water mark, though, with Mayor Bibb's prioritization of this through PIO, Prevention, Intervention, Opportunity, but it is varied, starting with the first year.
Thank you. And then to further clarify, I earlier, excuse me, in the discussion heard the number 699,000 cited. That was to make sure I understand through the chair, that was the 2023 number, and now there's a potential number, a 2024 number, that is 1 million. And then with the chief here at the table through the chair, was the 699 from the general fund, or was that ARPA? And then is the new request general fund?
Through the chair to Councilwoman Spencer, the $699,000 quoted was from our general fund allotment in 2023. The piece of legislation that's up right now, it's had its first read, is up to 1 million.
Okay.
And that's also general fund.
Okay, thank you very much for the clarification, and helps create context for the future discussion of the legislation. I wanted just to briefly, a couple things going back to Mr. Dorn's presentation and how council can help. I think one thing that would be of great interest to me, I'm not sure if it can be disclosed or shared, but understanding the list of employers who are currently offering the positions. So then I could look over and see who's already involved. I don't know if detail is available about the type of positions, but that might help to give, okay, this place is already involved, this is already covered, maybe here's someone else who could be approached. So that would be of interest if it's not too burdensome to provide that, but I think that would be very enlightening to see who is already active in our communities in terms of participating as employers. And then the last comment I wanted to say is going back to my very early comment about the flyer, and thank you for passing out the current flyer. We know that hard copies are coming. For time sensitivity reasons, knowing that the portal is opening this week, can the electronic versions be provided sooner than right away? Or
I'll email when I get back.
Okay.
Okay.
And then to clarify, is that available in English and Spanish, the electronic versions?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Also, to the councilwoman, through the chair, we do have a list that we provided our board and can provide to city council and this committee of the employers. I think it's alphabetical order, 400 employers, so it's not going to be by ward, but we can provide that, and then you can just have fun reading the spreadsheet, but you will be able to see. And that will be everyone who has hired one to Cleveland State and Tri-C both have over 100 on the campus.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Councilman Starr, and then I have Joe Jones.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you, Craig Dorn and the team, as well as Chief, for coming to the table today to discuss YOU. I am a strong advocate for our youth, and from the work that I've done previously, I've been able to build a relationship through the chair with Craig Dorn, as well as Eric Delavac, when I used to be a site manager and trying to get the kids enrolled. So one thing I definitely would speak about first, before I get into some questions regarding the budget, is just to support with our families. So as council members, when you look at the number of residents that or people who has applied, around 3,743, they were able to successfully get, I believe, 1,848 teams across Cuyahoga County, but with the focus of 1,281 that were in Cleveland. One of the things that happens is once this application opened up February 1st, you have to follow up and catch on to the emails or the calls, and some residents don't screen their calls similar to me. So they may miss it, or they may not get involved. The other thing I would tell you is if you see a site that participate in this program, they have opportunities to turn in a list of potential students or team workers for the summer, and I believe that's usually due sometime in April. So get with that site, make sure they know that everything opened up February 1st. Make sure they stay all involved. If they're recommended certain type of youth or a core group, make sure they get that in, because that can help streamline some of the processes. But then also from your standpoint, if there's ways for you to work with YOU. So my question to the chair would definitely be, are you still able to possibly do, what is it called? Let me make sure I say it right. Eligibility requirement, some type of setup, meaning if we wanted to have at a beautiful recreation center like John F. Kennedy, where I will want to wow you to come out and say, hey, we can do eligibility requirements right here. Come here on this date, and it could be an event where the council person could possibly help make sure people get in. Is that something, are y'all still able to do through the chair?
To the councilman through the chair, I'm going to comment on one thing and turn it over to Mr. Dillenbeck to answer this specific question. One thing to note is there is an opportunity to engage with the community partner, and actually that deadline is next week. So if you have, there are many community partners in all of your wards that we work with, but if you had one in particular, that deadline's next week, because the young people who are referred, it's always easy to remember the deadline, St. Patrick's Day. So, because on April 23rd, when we invite the community, we always invite the ones who we were referred to by community partners first, so we need their names really sooner. That said, I will turn over to Mr. Dillenbeck about community-based events.
To the council person through the chair, we are actively building our eligibility appointment intake schedule right now. And we actually do like to move around the community and get into neighborhoods closer to where participants live to make it as easy as possible for young people to have and their families to have access to the services. So we would very much welcome you letting us know if you are able to host an eligibility session in your ward. And then when we do invitations, we can pinpoint those that live closest to those areas to attend on those days.
Perfect. That is great. And then overall, like, I've done some great work with them in the past, but definitely I want to get some clarification also. I see you do have the flyer out, and just for a record, I know one of the things that we requested, when things go out with the logo, is there a possibility, like it says Cuyahoga County on there, it says City of Cleveland, Cleveland Foundation. Is there a way to add the council logo to this, as well as a future reference or anything through the chair to the table?
I will defer that to Mr. Dillenbeck.
Yep.
I'm very much certain that would be possible if we have that logo.
Okay, our staff can work and get it over to you. And then when I'm looking just from the breakdown, I know I'm sometimes a numbers guy, and I look at it from a list that I received that you had about 12 different pots of money that you pull funding from. And from that funding, I brought the total of your budget up around $7,970,233. I'm just asking, so that's where we're talking about that 7 to 8 million as far as the budget through the chair?
Yes, I believe that is correct, and we can get you a list of the breakdown of our funding sources
Okay,
when I get back to the office.
And so through the funding of those 1,848 teen employers, the estimated cost for the work that they did, or the salary range, is around that $2,025?
To the councilman through the chair, yes, that's the basic breakdown as we anticipate in 2024. Very rarely does a youth maximize, because that would mean they show up every minute and didn't take, it maximized, which is actually what allows us to enroll a little bit more and a little bit fewer students.
All right, and so through that, from that calculation, the total
Can I see that
from
paper?
the 1,848 teen employees.
Thank you.
And making around that salary of $2,025. My numbers that I get that bring it up is around $3,742,220. That was used from that $7 million, which leads me to understand that there is possibly $4,228,033 that's left in your budget. Through that, through the chair to table, of that funding of $4,228,000, where does that go to, or how's that?
Yeah, to the councilman through the chair. So the biggest cost is staff supporting the young people, year-round coaching, advising, during the orientation, intake, and work experience. We have job coaches and other people who are, the 80 to 100 temporary staff. So the largest by far is other adults or adults that support the young people, the job coaches, and so forth.
So
Yeah, and then there's a few other costs as well.
and then through that cost, that's all included as far as administrative costs?
Yes, to the councilman through the chair, that is correct.
And do you have any other budgeted line item category?
To the councilman through the chair, yes, we have youth payroll processing, program supplies such as financial literacy and orientation materials. We have supportive services, most notably bus tickets, uniforms, and background checks. And then we have support to the staff, such as their parking, their mileage, their IT support, and their phones.
All right, and then just to my colleagues, just from another calculation, from the 1,281 that are from the city of Cleveland that participate in this program, I think the budget roughly cost around $2,594.25. Is that an estimate through the chair?
I would defer numbers to Mr. Dillenbeck, who looks like he's calculating as we speak.
Yeah.
This is Chair. Maybe that will be just a point of follow-up to be able, because I know we've spoke a lot about the budget, and so because we do not have the numbers today, hopefully council members can understand. We hear the request, and the YOU team will be able to format and get that information to us so that we can, as we go into our budget season, we'll be working from informed conversation. Is
Thank
that
you.
okay, Councilman?
That is perfect.
Thank
And to that point, what is our working relationship while you with the school? Now, we talked about the photo school ID, and through the through the chair to possibly chief maybe. How are we working with Chief Pomegranate to see how do we check and see what CMSD first is doing to make sure by the time students leave school, they all have updated photo IDs, well, right now, rather, because while they're still in school, they actually can apply. And I know some schools encourage some of their deans and their senior advisors work with students on doing things like that. So can we possibly get a follow-up or figure out from the CMSD or the chief how they are working out? That would be great. And then obviously we need to figure out birth certificates. Birth certificates isn't like $50 now, probably.
So I'll just get a point of information for that.
Yep.
So we have been working painstakingly to see if we could get the waiver required. People were just saying, oh, the city of Cleveland, but it actual is a requirement. We are just a pass-through entity for the state of Ohio. We currently have a couple of people researching what opportunities may be available for us. Could y'all be a little, hey, those, oh. Okay. What can happen within the state of Ohio to work to get those waived, even if we did a couple of events and things of that nature? So that is in progress. But the fees come directly from the state. The city of Cleveland doesn't keep any money from it. It's a state fee.
Yep, and then, thank you. And through that point, Chairwoman, I would love to get a breakdown of all of these 12 donors, because I see some people is $1 million, some is 980,000, is then a couple 400, half a million range, just to figure out who is actually donating the money or where is this coming from. That would be very important. But then also I would like to know what is the employer relationship through the city of Cleveland, different departments with YOU, such as like public utilities, the water department, any other entity of public works or public service. What type of relationships do we have in place through YOU? Because what I see this as an opportunity is, if I'm a young teenager, or I may be that graduating senior, and I've worked YOU 4 or 5 years or a number of years, if there was a pipeline set up for me to work in a certain field for a number of years, meaning I'm gaining that lived experience for 6 weeks or however many weeks during the summer, there could be opportunity once I finish in end of June or end of July, and possibly get into a career opportunity with the city. Do we have that relationship, or what is the relationship do we have with public utilities, water department, and possibly public works through the chair?
To the councilman, through the chair, overall, very good relationship with a lot of different departments, work with Chief Pryor Jones and Ms. O'Leary to work with interns who maybe will work even here at City Hall. Our largest work site, probably for the last 20 years running, has been rec centers and pools. And we've been working with public utilities since 2006 on working to place young people in various job opportunities, primarily in Department of Water, but also some of the other public utilities like wastewater treatment and so forth.
And thank you so much. And through the chair, as far as recreation, have you put out any type of opportunities for youth seek employment as lifeguards? Have we been able to get some response to the chair? Because I need not POC, Lonnie Burton, open this year for swimming. So I think that would be something that is very important. But then also I would definitely ask a question to the chair. I would love to have opportunity for council members to have some youth work with us through our office. I know I was a site supervisor working in the recreation field and youth development field, but I would love to be able to get some young teens and really teach them ways to work in civic engagement, teaching them about government so they can understand. So is there a way through the chair, if I would love to be an office that I may have in the community that they can work out of, and I can be able to possibly do similar to I did as site supervisors, possibly with a referral list of some kids or anything like that to be able to work out of our offices to do some things with these teens, because I think of it, it takes a village to help with these kids. And as they working and learning, it can be that breaking point to help them go to the next level. So through the chair, if that's a possibility.
Through the chair to Councilman Starr, a couple of responses to a couple of your questions. First, on the lifeguard issue, one of the things that we've done in partnership with YOU to, really take full advantage of the dollars that we have is to focus in on high need and high interest areas of employment. A high need interest for the city is lifeguards. As you know, it's a national shortage, and so last year, in partnership with the school district, recreation, YOU, we worked to utilize our general fund dollars to pay young people to get the training during their training period to be trained up to be lifeguards, and then they transition to recreation funding if they pass the test and were eligible to be a lifeguard. And I think that ended up yielding 11 additional new lifeguards for the city of Cleveland. We're continuing to do that. Another high need area fell into the academy program, focusing on marketing and communications, because as we know, none of us really know how to engage with young people in the way they want to be engaged. And so we worked with a group of young people, Crowder, Marketing, and YOU, to really get those young people to tell us what that needs to look like for promotion of recreation programs as well as the employment program. And I think we even have some artifacts that maybe we should bring the next time we come to council so you can see it. And we've passed those recommendations on to recreation. Now, as far as you all taking on internships, love that idea. Taking on youth for the summer, love that idea. I think you just need to meet the requirements of a site as well as provide us with a job description. We also heard this in a community meeting earlier this week from one of our elementary school principals in the Collinwood neighborhood that said, I'd love to take on a summer youth for the summer and mentor them and give them some high task performing things to do. And so I think that's a yes.
Can I chime into that? So one of the things is, because we are in the system, and when you think about contracts, our offices are not actual legal entities, so the actual thing is Cleveland City Council. And so it will probably be, for those who may be interested, to work with the clerk to actually set up all of those things, job descriptions, what is needed, because it's the entity and not the person. Hence, and I'm just saying that because I've been having trouble to get a work study student. So I'm just saying, just because of some of those legal things, we definitely need to have that connection with the clerk so that all the legal standards that were needed for an organization, and to see if Cleveland City Council is a suitable site.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Chief as well as Executive Director Dorn for that, because I think that is very important. I think our relationships, and I think that educating youth as early as they are, because isn't it about 14 to 18? As early as that 14 years old, there's an opportunity to really help them learn some different skills. And I think that exposure can open up the opportunities for them to look in all type of different fields of work. So that is be good. That I think I'm gonna work with them.
Yes.
I'm gonna work with the clerk, and I'm gonna work with our staff to do that, Chairwoman.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to put you back on the list. We got to
Yep.
move on.
And I was about to finish. I was wrapping it up. I was going. My last point. I was wrapping it up.
Okay, all right.
My
All
last
right,
point.
Councilman.
I know you mentioned physical space. I know the Word Church on 55th downtown. I'm not 100% sure if they're still having services there, so that may be a facility to look into. If you need me to connect you with Dr. Brother Ray Vernon, I can definitely do that.
Thank you so much.
That would be very much appreciated to make that connection. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm looking at this document here from 2006 all the way up to 2023. It gives me the contract number, and it also gives me the awarded amount that the city of Cleveland has participated in youth opportunities. And this is, and I know that you stated earlier, but a lot of my questions are based around funding, because we're talking about funding. So if you don't mind, as a series of questions that I would like to ask. The first thing, Madam Chairwoman, to the distinguished gentleman, Mr. Dorn, correct, is we've had the delight of having you at the table going all the way back, at least to 2006, but you've been working for the city of Cleveland for far longer than that, correct?
To the councilman through the chair, I am not an employee of the city. I'm an employee of Youth Opportunities Unlimited.
You've been working with getting contracts from the city since before 2006, correct?
To the councilman through the chair, that is correct.
And that goes all the way back to when? I think you stated the year.
Yes, the first contract would have been 1983.
And you yourself was here all the way back since 1983, Madam Chairwoman, to Mr. Dorn.
To the councilman through the chair, I began at YOU in 1989, so close but not quite 83.
So you've been here for quite a bit of a time. My question is, and you know, when we talk about the programming and how it works, you know, for me, young people, it's about exposure. It's about opportunity, and it's also about having the chance to have that experience to improve the quality of their lives. And I see some of the stuff that's here. Do you offer more than just what we're seeing in this presentation and as it relates to just workforce?
To the councilman, through the chair, yes, we do. We offer actually a range of programs. We operate programs in the high schools directly. We have about a dozen staff who are housed in the schools. I kicked off by talking about our Youth Career Olympics. That is tied to one of our school-based programs where we have staff in the schools. We also have 6 staff who rotate to all the high schools and provide networking support and particularly support to young people who are seniors not going to college. We also operate a small but mighty training program for 18 to 24-year-olds that provides mostly training around construction, and we're looking at facilities maintenance. A highly successful program. And the short answer is yes, we serve thousands of other youth above and beyond the summer jobs program, with the primary focus being the city of Cleveland.
And Madam Chairwoman, when you probably heard earlier when we were talking about the presentations and I started asking questions, and I utilized the terminology squeezing blood out of a turnip. Because when I looked at this presentation, I said, you have to do more than this. So it would, be nice, because you will be coming back to the city of Cleveland, and you will be asking us for more money, I presume. But your presentation, I know there's just a 2-page, 3-page, or whatever, how many pages. It doesn't really tell me anything about you. So if I'm sitting here at this table, unfortunately, what I've have experienced is you're not really prepared. So when I'm here at the table and I have to make a decision, I don't have the full picture. So if, Madam Chairwoman, if you could come back and really tell us who you are. It's sort of like every time you come back to the table, explaining that is really important. It gives the citizens of the city of Cleveland a better ideal and concept of understanding who you are, what you do, how you have an impact on our young folks, that you are in our school facilities, that you are doing certain and performing certain tasks, and how that provides for, as your slogan says, opportunities. And so when you hear, and I see these numbers, I think I come up to like almost $9 million invested. What does that mean? So when you break it down, it would be important to see what that looks like. And then it was curious because I heard you talk about a broader service level. So you do more than just help the school. Well, I guess the question is, you do more now than just the city of Cleveland. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, to the councilman, through the chair, we service Cuyahoga County, although our focus is the inner ring suburbs. So in addition to Cleveland, it would be primarily the inner ring suburbs. So the range of services we offer are for those two primary focus areas.
I see. And that is that all of the cities in that? How many cities would that be? Give me a general idea of what that means.
Yeah, to the councilman, through the chair, it is primarily the eastern suburbs, from Euclid to Bedford and everything in between. We certainly do serve other inner ring suburbs like Lakewood and Parma to a degree, or Brooklyn. But if you were to look at our numbers, the vast majority of inner ring is the corridor from Euclid to Bedford and kind of up Warrensville Road, all the suburbs that are in that area.
So you provide the same services, Madam Chairwoman, to Mr. Dorn?
To the chair, primarily a bit less. Our relationship with CMSD is stronger than. We do some of those suburbs, but not all of them. We do Warrensville and Maple and Cleveland Heights and Shaker, but we're not in every single school the way we are in CMSD.
And Madam Chairwoman, to Mr. Doran, so with providing what you do in the schools in terms of services, are there any other services that you provide?
Could you clarify that question?
You have different services that you perform in our educational, systems, in addition to job opportunities for young people during the summer months, between June and July, the end of July. Is there any other programs that you offer?
Yeah, to the councilman, through the chair, most of our other programming that is during the school year is working directly with high school students. Although we work with all grades, we focus primarily on 11th and 12th grade and help them think through their next step in their career. Our other signature program that we're very proud of is actually co-taught as a class. It's called Jobs for Ohio's Graduates, or JOG for short. Co-taught as a course where young people get credit and then get an immersion 5 days a week throughout the school year with the YLU staff. We also are an anchor partner on the PACE program, which this committee certainly is familiar with, and so through that go to every high school and once or twice a month give workshops. We haven't talked about it here, but we complement a summer jobs program is our internship program, which serves 100 to 150 a year and is much more customized to the young person's needs. So if they apply and say they want to be whatever career they want, we customize an internship for them. That actually, when Councilman Starr was talking about opportunity, really resonated. So if someone was very interested in government, that would be the type of opportunity for them. And as I indicated previously, we serve about 100 young people a year, training them in the construction trades, 18 to 24. Our main partner there is a K-18.
Okay. And are you, you talked earlier about getting employers in the neighborhood involved. We worked with the baseball team. I'm trying to get used to the name, the Guardians, because I'm still accustomed to Indians. So we worked with them this year to put together a job career package. Are you networked in them because they're looking to hire a number of people each year? No, we're talking about the Guardians.
We, Councilman through the chair, we have partnered with the Guardians in years past. It's a more challenging work site for consistent employment for young people because of the nature of the season. And so when we're trying to get 6 weeks, 25 hours a week, it's a little challenging on that level. But we have partnered with them for job fairs and other kinds of opportunities.
Well, I know that this year that they are, did you distinguish lady?
Yeah, you'll have to come, please come to the table. And if you could use the mic, because we're live stream, right? And so it's helpful to be able to put things on the right. Hold on one moment. Can you get the mic? Press green. Press it at the bottom. Nope.
You had to push it to
Press
turn
the
it,
bottom. Push.
Just push one.
I
Yep.
got you.
There you go. Let it go. Yep.
Speak like you in the opera.
All right. With our year-round program, the Jobs for House Graduates, we do partner with the Guardians. And so it's not through our subsidized with the summer. This is where they actually hire our young people. So we absolutely have a relationship with them. They hire private sector, they pay the wages. And so we do have a relationship with them. And we would love to do more.
Okay, great. And then let me just add to that.
One moment, Councilman. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Pam Macer, Chief Program Officer at YOU.
Okay,
Great.
thanks.
One of the things that I think would be beneficial, just sitting here at the table. So after I can give you my card so that we can network. We had a number of construction opportunities available for young people. We're not talking about 15, 20 jobs. We're talking about hundreds of jobs, close to almost 900 mark. And the numbers are still growing. We have a really major issue in terms of the construction industry in the city of Cleveland. We don't have enough workers for these job site locations. And that's just to say just a little bit.
Sure.
It's just a touch. So if we can network within that organization and the people that I'm working with right now, if we could work with you guys and network that whole piece in, I think that would be really beneficial because they need the numbers and we just don't have them.
And we have a young adult program that specifically concentrates on construction. So the timing is perfect. We have young adults that have just completed that are ready to be placed, so we definitely should connect.
Well, they'll have a job tomorrow.
All right.
And then the next question that I have is when you do bring the presentation back, I don't want to be sitting in it, and it's not just you now, right? I guess the thought or the process sometimes, unfortunately, is give council less. The less is best. They won't have a whole lot of questions. We can get over with this real quick, bada bing, bada bang. So my thing is simple, more is best. Because if I got the information and you've given me the information and you're fundamentally breaking down for me, what all you really fundamentally provide, that you are helping to make a difference, that's important for me sitting here at this table. When it comes to how that $8 million or $9 million annual budget that you have, what does that mean? You have to tell me the story. If you don't tell me the story over here at the end of this table, I won't know. And what you presented here doesn't tell me anything really about you. And you've been here since the 80s. So you should have such a superstar story and with all kinds of bells and whistles and photos and a brochure this thick on your success. So you need to do that. Because if I sit here and I have to, unfortunately, Madam Chairwoman, to Carol, I see Carol back there, and to Mr. Dorn, have to pull it out of you, then I think you're hiding something. And then it adds more question marks than it does anything else. Now, my colleague, Mr. Richard Starr, asked a question. I didn't hear the answer to it, would like to hear the answer to it, in terms of your partnership with Cleveland Public Power and our utilities department.
I didn't hear the second part.
Your relationship or partnership with Cleveland Public Power, our utilities department.
To the councilman through the chair, we've been partnering with public utilities since '06, primarily Department of Water. I'm not aware, though, Chief Macer might know if we do anything with Cleveland Public Power in particular. It's been primarily Department of Water and various water-related areas like the wastewater treatment.
What a story. And you don't even have that in here.
To the councilman through the chair, we've heard loud and clear the desire for more information. We presented and developed this in consultation with and from direction from Chair Santana. So we are happy to provide you with any and all information you would like, and definitely have understood, the theme about telling the story, and would be happy to present that. I will say, earlier I said the end of the week, now I'm going to say the end of next week, just to make sure we are articulating, because I love the opportunity. We're very proud of the fact that we were co-founded by the city, and there's a lot of great things to share that we didn't, and so we're happy to do that.
And then I look forward to working with you in my neighborhood. Like, we have these applications that due. This is coming February 1st. There's a timeline. So how do we get our citizens on a consistent basis engaged in this process? How do we work with you to make sure that we get as many young people engaged? And then I know my colleague talked about John F. Kennedy. Yes, it's not John F., it's Frederick Douglass Recreation. And we're excited about that new facility. We're thankful to the previous mayor, Frank Jackson, for his commitment to invest in our community with that facility. And it was 50 years coming. 50 years. So, you know, I'm thankful after, actually, technically, it's 55 years in the
Councilman?
making. So I'm very appreciative that we have that. And I look forward to working with you to see how you're in that facility, because that's where the hub of our young people are at. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Councilman Slife.
Thank you. Just one more, a different way of making sure that I understand the numbers. In 2023, 1848 teens were employed across Cuyahoga County, 70% of whom were Cleveland residents. The 2024 projections is 1,500 target enrollment, but 1,230 contracted to serve. So I would presume that the 1,230 number is the correct apples-to-apples comparison with the 1848 from last year. Is that correct?
To the councilman, to the chair, we would say it's 1,500 because contract is, if you were to look at our county contract or our contract with PIO, it says an amount of youth, and it imagines in a budget the young people work all 150 hours. It also imagines that, you know, they'll get they'll use all their bus tickets or all their supplies. Our experience over the years is that isn't the case. So part of our efforts to not turn families away, we do over-enroll based on the contract, and to a point, you know, we can't over-enroll to 2,500. And from a budget standpoint, it's tended to work out. So the target enrollment is 1,500. We will do everything we can to serve 1,500, so that is closer to the 18.
Okay, thank you. So, and the 70% being Cleveland residents, is that typical year over year?
That is
there?
very typical,
Okay.
and it could be pretty much assured it'll be in that range
Okay.
again.
So what I'm hoping to gain an understanding of is if we're targeting 1,500 for enrollment and 70% of those are Cleveland residents, we're looking at about 1,050. So I guess the first question would be, is there a reason why we are anticipating fewer placements in 2024 than what was done in 2023?
Do you have a...
Yeah, to the councilman through the chair, it's relative to funding. Late in the year, Cuyahoga County usually comes to us and says, here's some extra money, and that increases our numbers. So it's not reflected in, this is what's currently budgeted at this moment. It doesn't reflect future funding that might come in order that enables us to serve more youth, which is what has happened for the last couple of years, where we got kind of last minute funding that kind of rolled into us in May, so we were able to increase the numbers of participants served.
That's left over, through the chair, that's left over TANF funding, or the county's found
Yeah,
other
that's
dollars?
helpful. I do know. So yeah, the state of Ohio, actually pretty typically for the last 10 years, wakes up in May and says, oh, wow, we have some leftover TANF money. We'll give it to summer jobs through the counties. And because we always have a robust number of youth who've applied, Cuyahoga County always signs up for the maximum of their allotment. And we can't count on it. It's happened maybe 9 of the last 11 years, but we're hopeful.
Okay.
And that was the difference last year and this year.
So looking at the 2024 timeline, let's presume then, per your answer, that additional TANF dollars are made available. This seems would be happening during the closure of the application process. So I'm interested in understanding how, what is the process by which you collaborate with private businesses, the city of Cleveland, utilities, others who have availed themselves of this program in the past to place individuals after we've identified additional funding? it seems that now you would be trying to scramble to find additional placement
Yeah,
opportunities.
so I would call to your attention on the timeline, intake appointments end May 23rd, so up till May 23rd. So if on May 1st, more money came, I had mentioned April 23rd as our preference, but if, so let's say it came late April, early May, we have up until May 23rd to ratchet up our intake appointments and have our staff maybe add a few extra intake sessions. One of our intake sessions, we can process a couple hundred families. So we've mastered doing things in Mass A. So we're up until May 23rd, we have some of that flexibility, because then what's happening behind the scenes is, as young people are coming to intake, the second they are enrolled vis-a-vis intake, our team matches them to the work site. And so when they show up to the orientations the first week of June, they are assigned their work site, which has already happened behind the scenes. And so that gives us some of the extra time and buffer to deal with these 11th hour extra fundings. Also, we haven't done it in about 10 years, but are also able to. About 10 years ago, the 10,000, the Goldman Sachs 10,000 folks came to us in May, and we ran an August program. So we have some latitude. If someone suddenly comes, we can run a payroll in mid-July to the end of August or whatever, things like that.
Do I have time for 2 more questions, Jerome? Okay. Running a tight ship, so I don't want to. Are there any data on the kind of within our kind of regional economy, what the census is for like young people versus employment opportunities? And this is sort of an idea that's happening in live time in my brain, but I'm thinking you're working to place people while we're trying to get the same people to become lifeguards. And at what point are we is there a potential that we're competing against ourselves? So what I'm saying is, like, if there's unfilled lifeguard positions and unfilled jobs elsewhere, like, are we creating opportunities? Let me phrase it a different way. Do you think many of these small businesses or others that we work with would have jobs, summer jobs, without the YOU program, or are they creating jobs because of the YOU program?
Excellent question to the councilman through the chair. So YOU views ourselves as stewards of the Community Summer Jobs Program. So we've spent a lot of time at this committee talking about the youth needs. We do have a team of 3 people who are working as we speak who focus on the communities and the employers' needs. So as far as I know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, no one has ever created anything just for YOU. So we are filling the lifeguards or filling the rec centers. Even when we do these academies, we've talked about construction here, but also manufacturing. That is, I guess that is an example to be clear of. We had 241 young people who worked last year where their job was to learn about careers. So that is not, Magnet wasn't going to hire them, without that. But so 241 we've created to be very intentional to feed the pipeline. But the vast, vast, vast majority of jobs are, they are nonprofits. So it would be, it's probably the wrong organization name now, but I just seen a councilman, especially the Detroit Shoreway Development Corporation, or it would be, as I've mentioned, rec centers or schools are big partners. Young people working in the community at everywhere from Famicos to Friendly Inn, just to name it. When they're small businesses, it might be child care centers, or it might be places like one of our stronger partners is CVS, and they need people working there. They're not just doing it because they're trying to make
Sure. I'll kind of build out the question more, because again, this is happening in live time in my brain. But I think the idea is, I hear people cynically say kids don't want to work anymore, but also we just statistically, we have a grayer population than many parts of the country. So, you know, we talk, like, I'm only using lifeguards because we've talked about lifeguards many times at this table, but like if a small suburb said, we can't find enough lifeguards for our 4 pools, everyone would say, well, maybe why do you have 4 pools? You're a small suburb. Like, is part of our problem that we're trying to staff in rec, for example, for assets for a city of 1 million, and we just don't have the manpower? And is there a certain point where if we're trying to connect people to opportunities, but so many of them are open, does it make sense to fewer positions, higher pay? $13 an hour, I guess, isn't terrible, but for a summer, that's like 5 credit hours at CSU. So like, that's not going to get people there. So like, how do we kind of right size what we can bear, is I think something that I would explore if I were a grad student, but I'm not. The last question is, I do believe it's valuable to provide youth employment opportunities across the board, but we do talk at this table a lot about engaging kind of at-risk youth and identifying individuals who are open to opportunities for diversion. And I'm curious whether it's through CMSD or even the justice system, the way that YOU is able to maybe target and say, we have a job specifically for you because we're identifying you as someone who could benefit from having something to do over the summer.
Yeah, to the councilman through the chair, as was indicated earlier in this discussion, we have community partners. I would say maybe our biggest community partner over the last 10 years is the Community Relations Board and their diversion program. And so we reserve a certain number of slots for them, and have worked with them since they were run by now Council President Griffin. He's initiated the relationship. So that is our main way to work with that population, is getting referrals and holding slots in our summer program for people referred by the Community Relations Board.
Okay. I'll end there because I'm up against my time, but it'd be interesting to do some kind of longitudinal, like that's where able to demonstrate that is that something to double down on. So I'll leave it there.
Okay, next we have Councilwoman Gray.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think YOU is a great program. I've been known by the chair to, Madam Chair, to the committee. You do an awesome job of employing youth throughout the community. You know, I met you through Burton Bell Carr, because you know you work through Burton Bell Carr to employ a lot of the youth through the Buckeye neighborhood. So that's when I got introduced with you guys back in 2018, 2019, during that time. But I just have a few questions. Here on your 2023 number of Cleveland youth, you have here 16 teams attended at least one Youth Money Mentors Financial Literacy Workshop. In addition to the financial literacy offered at orientation, do you follow the teams once they finish this program through the summertime to see what they are doing, or have they continue into the different programs that they went through, you know, within the youth organization?
Yeah, to the councilman, through the chair, yes. Yes, we follow up for 1 year to check in on them, and then if they repeat as a summer job participant, they get another year of follow-up. So anytime they are in our summer program, we stick with them for 1 year to make sure they are on track with their career trajectory.
Okay, so wonderful, wonderful. And also, I don't have many questions, but I just want to just say this. I know that I just want to say I admire this program, because due to this program and knowing you and what you have done, you know, I created my summer program. I worked with you and Sonia Palmer Jones, creating a summer program last summer for the youth in Ward 4. and we worked through the diversion program here to get some teams into the program, because of some reason or another, you were overloaded to extend helping us, but that program did get up and running, Madam Chair, to the committee. But that program we did get it up and running, and due to how things were structured, understanding what Wild Youth have done, it was structured under that way, and Burton Bell Carr was the CDC that helped. I helped facilitate it as a partner for that summer youth program, and we ended up with 12 youths working through that program as well, from 12 weeks. I think we had 12 weeks. So saying all that, I know one or two of the youths that didn't get into the youth program, they did come over. They managed to be able to come over to apply for the summer program that was in Ward 4. And due to that, that young lady did go through the qualifications, but she just wasn't chosen to get a job. So when she came over, and then at the end of the day, she did not work under the Buckeye Ward program. I believe she ended up getting a job as at the library as a page, because that's what her whole intent, to learn skills to work in that type of facility per se, than outside jobs and stuff. So due to that, when they can't get in, when they weren't able to get in, and she came over and applied with me, but she got something better, because she told me where she really wanted to be, per se, Madam Chair, to the committee. I was happy to know that she got where she wanted to be at the end of the day. But when they are not able to get in, what happens when they're not able to get in, and when you at your quota?
Yeah.
And
To the councilman, through the chair, a couple things to note. One of them is that we have a customer focus in the summer, and we have a call center. And so I would say that if ever anyone on council encounters a family that is confused about what happened, they first and foremost should call the call center, and then if they're not getting satisfactory answer, connect them to me. Because we tried this past year to not turn anyone away, so I'm not sure what exactly happened in that particular situation. I also will say I'm very glad to hear the Ward 4 program happened, and if this year you know you're going to do it again,
yes, we are.
If we might be able to run payroll and maybe cheaper than Minutemen, I don't know. So we should talk offline, because we can run payroll, going back to what Councilman Slife said, as long as we kind of know by May 23rd, and we didn't officially know until June.
I know it was late.
So if we know now it's for sure going to happen,
Yes,
we'll just
it
say
is.
we'll do it, and then
Okay.
you know, we can work with you offline on how to run payroll for you, since that's what we were founded to do.
Yes, definitely. But thank you for that. That's all the questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I believe we have a couple of outstanding, just requests, so Brooke and the team to make sure that we have a complete budget there, and also there was work on if Cleveland City Council can be an actual site to host some of the summer youth. There were two things I'd heard. One was in regards to how Wild You was created back in 1982 with a initial investment from the city of Cleveland of $500,000. And again, I always think about, okay, well, what does $500,000 get you in today's dollars? Today, $500,000 is actually $1.69 million. Where we started, 500,000, what the city gave, in today's dollars is $1.69 million, just to give a point of reference, because I think those things are very real when people are talking about inflation and the dollar ain't the same. When we are talking about things in past, it's not the same, and those are the types of things we really need to just be mindful of when we are having expectations, but the dollars might not meet what our expectations are. So just a point of reference in that regards. I also did want to ask just a question as it relates to just the investments from our private sector. I am pretty certain that when we had this conversation over a year and a half ago, but it was in 2022, and we talked about there was supposed to be an initiative, if I'm not mistaken, from the administration to reach out to corporate partners, and we were going to have this level of investment, and it just does not seem like that has materialized. But I just wanted to make sure, I know we had that conversation, whatever happened to this push from corporate investment, because this is the pipeline of the workforce in the future?
To the chair, so a few things. So it has happened, I'm looking at my notes here, last year we were able to raise an additional $400,000, and that's not including, as I had indicated earlier, JP Morgan Chase, Key Bank have stepped up collectively between the two of them for $5 million over the next 2-3 years. So that is happening.
I'm sorry, what was that, $5 million over the next 2 years?
500,000, if I said 5 million, yeah, I wish, yeah. Key Bank, 300,000, JP Morgan Chase, 200,000. Also, right on cue, tomorrow morning, Chief Pryor Jones and I are meeting to continue to explore ways to work with the city to get even more. But it has begun. What we have found is that the corporate and foundation community have been strong on the whole, but there's still more to be done with corporate, and we also believe we can reach out to more individuals of wealth. So our goal is to raise $5 million over the next 2-3 years. And we have been working in partnership with Mayor Bibb and continue to do so. I don't know if there's anything.
On that point, Madam Chairwoman.
Councilman Jones.
Thank you. My question is, and here we go. I mean, and I think the chairwoman is hitting it on the target in terms of corporate, engagement. And, I just haven't seen the corporate community really coming up to the table and really doing anything that is relevant in terms of significant. And so I guess, is it because, Madam Chairwoman, to Mr. Dornish, this is just your first thrust at this? I just don't see them, I don't see the corporate community in the city of Cleveland really caring about the city of Cleveland.
Yeah, to the councilman, through the chair, our experience has been mixed. There are definitely corporate citizens who have stepped up pretty significantly, and others would share your concern. And so our thinking is we just need to continue to educate them on the value of it. But it's been, our experience has been mixed.
So thank you so much, Councilman Jones. So just following up with that, I would see what it beyond like the one-offs of really trying to see what it looks like with our partnerships, specifically when it comes to the Greater Cleveland Partnership. When you look at COSI, the Council of Small Enterprises, when you look at some of our Chamber of Commerces, and that's, again, when you talk about some of the suburban municipalities that you are in. So if you look at some of those Chamber of Commerces to see what partnership looks like, because again, when we look at the impacts of COVID and who made money versus who didn't, it's just a thing, right? Money is either going to come from people's personal taxes or it comes from the profits that you make. And we, I'm not going to even get into tax policy and all of those things, but there's been a lot of relief that has been given to our corporate partners, right? For them to get some good taxes, and that's just a fact. So if you have been blessed then you need to invest back into this thing for the people that you want to eventually be a partner for you. And so I really think we need to look in those terms in whatever way that we can be a partner in that, because it's not just on the administration, while the city of Cleveland is doing what we can with what we have, when we look at our market space, when you look at the top employers, things of that, most of that happens in the private sector. So if we're trying to do the work for private sector to get people ready, then it just is natural partnership that investment is there than the overwhelming majority of this programming being felt and designed between the county and the local government. Like, we need to have a much stronger partnership, whether it's 50-50, like something has to give here. So we can use that for what it is. And I just want to thank you all for your time, and we'll have a good day. All right? Committee is adjourned.
I got another event I gotta go to. So I'm about to
It'd be good for them to see your face. If you can pop in, I think it would be good.
I gotta leave at 4:30.
Okay.
So I'll stop
I'll
in.
see you there.